The crystal spires of New Zephyr burned against the night sky. What had once been a city of living light now cracked and shattered under the endless bombardment. Counselor Veltar pressed her translucent hands against the observation deck's reinforced glass. Watching another tower collapse in a cascade of broken dreams and shattered hope. "How many ships do they have left?" she asked without turning around. General Hoxon checked his data tablet with trembling fingers. His crystalline form flickered with stress patterns that painted him in shades of deep purple and angry red. 17 defense vessels, Counselor. Down from 200 at the start of this war. Veltar closed her eyes. The Krex had been systematic in their destruction. They arrived 6 months ago with a simple message broadcast across all frequencies. Your species has been marked for elimination. Resistance is futile. Surrender will not be accepted. No explanation. No demands. Just death. The Zaphirian Republic had tried to negotiate. They offered their advanced biotechnology, their methods for growing living cities, their centuries of accumulated art and culture. The Krex response was another wave of kinetic bombardments that turned 3 more worlds into fields of crystal dust. The evacuation ships? Veltar asked. All destroyed before they could reach hyperspace, Hoxon replied. His voice carried the weight of billions of lost lives. They hunt down every vessel that tries to leave the system. They want to make sure none of us escape to warn other species. Veltar turned from the window. Her form was tall and graceful, like all her people, built for the low gravity and gentle environments of their garden worlds. The Zaphirians had evolved in peace, shaped by worlds where the greatest dangers were seasonal storms and the occasional aggressive plant. They had no concept of warfare beyond theoretical study. Send the message again, she said quietly. Hoxon looked up. Counselor, we have been broadcasting the distress call for 3 weeks. No one is coming. Send it again. The general's shoulders sagged, but he activated the communication array. The message went out across known space on all diplomatic frequencies, translated into every major galactic language. This is the Zaphirian Republic requesting immediate military assistance. Our worlds are under attack by the Krex hegemony. We offer full access to our biotechnology, our cultural archives, and our manufacturing capabilities to any civilization willing to provide aid. We are a peaceful people facing extinction. Please help us. They had received responses, of course. The Altarian Confederacy sent formal condolences, but explained that they could not risk war with the Krex over a minor species. The Nexus Collective calculated that the cost of intervention outweighed any potential benefits. The merchant princes of the Void Reach offered to evacuate high-value Zaphirian citizens for a substantial fee, but made it clear they would not engage in combat. The galaxy's major powers all gave the same basic message. The Krex were too strong, the risk too great, and the Zaphirians too few to matter in the larger scheme of galactic politics. Counselor, came a voice from behind them. Communications Officer Tylan approached with her usual careful grace, but her crystalline skin showed stress fractures from weeks of fear. We are receiving an unusual transmission. Veltar felt a spark of hope quickly suppressed. They had received many transmissions over the past weeks, most of them from scavengers looking to profit from their desperation. From whom? That is the unusual part, Counselor. The signal originates from an unmapped system in the outer rim. The transmission signature is unlike anything in our databases. Pirates? Hoxon suggested. Unknown, General, but they responded to our distress call. Veltar walked to the communication console. The main display showed a star map with their system highlighted in red, surrounded by the amber markers indicating Krex fleet positions. Far beyond them, in a region marked as unexplored space, a single blue dot pulsed. What did they say? Veltar asked. Tylan activated the recording. The voice that emerged from the speakers was strange, using sounds that no known species made. The translation software struggled with the unusual vocal patterns before finally producing text. Zaphirian Republic. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We received your distress call. Itis en route. Hold your position and maintain all possible defenses. We will be there in 72 standard hours. The command center fell silent. Veltar read the message 3 times before speaking. Earth. There is no Earth in our star charts. No record of this Admiral Chen either, Tylan confirmed, or any United Earth government. The translation indicates they are human, but that species designation is not in our databases. How large is their fleet? Hoxon asked. Unknown, General. They transmitted fleet recognition codes, but they use a format we have never seen before. Veltar stared at the blue dot on the map. Hope was a dangerous thing for a dying species, but she found herself allowing just a small amount to grow in her chest. Send a response. Tell them we are grateful for any assistance they can provide. Include tactical data on Krex ship designs and weapon capabilities. Counselor, Hoxon said carefully, we know nothing about these humans. They could be worse than the Krex. General, we have 17 ships left and no allies. If these humans are raiders looking to claim our technology after the Krex finish us, then at least we will have delayed our extinction by a few days. If they are genuine, she trailed off, not wanting to complete the thought. If they are genuine, they still face the entire Krex war fleet, Hoxon pointed out. 47 heavy cruisers, 130 destroyers, and the dreadnought Bone Crusher. No unknown species from the Outer Rim could possibly match that firepower. Veltar nodded but continued staring at the blue dot. Perhaps not. But they answered when no one else would. The next few hours passed slowly. Reports came in from the other remaining Zaphirian worlds. The situation was the same everywhere. Overwhelming Krex forces, minimal defenses, and populations hiding in underground shelters that would not protect them much longer. Then the perimeter sensors detected something new. Counselor, Tylan called out. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected at the edge of the system. Veltar hurried to the tactical display. The humans? Unknown. The signatures are unusual. Very crude compared to standard hyperspace drives, and there are many of them. The display updated as the new arrivals emerged from hyperspace. Veltar counted 43 vessels of various sizes. They looked nothing like any ships in her experience. Where galactic vessels were sleek and elegant, these were blocky and heavily armored. They seemed to be built for durability rather than beauty. Are they broadcasting? Veltar asked. Yes, Counselor. The same voice as before. Admiral Chen's voice filled the command center again. Zaphirian Republic, this is Admiral Chen. We have arrived and are moving to engage Krex forces. Please maintain position and avoid the combat zone. We will contact you when the area is secure. Veltar watched the human fleet advance toward the inner system where the Krex forces waited. The ships moved in tight formations, their drives leaving bright trails across space. 43 ships against nearly 200. Hoxon whispered. They must be very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both, Veltar replied. She opened a channel to all remaining Zaphirian settlements. All citizens, this is Counselor Veltar. Help has arrived. Unknown allies called humans have come to our aid. Take shelter and wait for further instructions. As she spoke, she watched the human fleet approach the Krex positions. In a few hours, they would know if these mysterious humans from Earth were their salvation, or simply another group of beings about to die for the Zaphirian Republic. Either way, someone had finally answered their call. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the tactical display update with each new sensor sweep. The Krex fleet was larger than intelligence had suggested, but that was nothing new. Intel was always wrong about something. Ma'am, we're receiving another transmission from the Zaphirians, reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. Put it through, Chen ordered, not taking her eyes off the display. The voice that filled the bridge was melodic, almost musical, with translation software converting alien sounds into English. Admiral Chen, this is Counselor Veltar of the Zaphirian Republic. We are grateful beyond words for your arrival, but we must warn you that the Krex fleet significantly outnumbers your forces. Perhaps it would be wise to withdraw and return with reinforcements. Chen smiled grimly. Send a reply, Torres. Tell the Counselor that we appreciate their concern, but we've handled worse odds before. What about first contact protocols, Admiral? Asked Commander Rodriguez, her first officer. We're dealing with an unknown species here. Shouldn't we establish formal diplomatic relations before engaging in combat on their behalf? Rodriguez, they're about to be wiped out by hostile aliens. I think we can skip some of the paperwork. Chen turned to her tactical officer. Johnson, what's our read on Krex ship capabilities? Based on the data the Zaphirians provided, they use plasma-based energy weapons and kinetic bombardment systems. Their ships appear to prioritize firepower over armor or maneuverability. Standard galactic combat doctrine seems to focus on long-range engagement. Of course it does, Chen muttered. Most alien species they had encountered through the few previous contacts seemed to fight like they had all the time in the world. And the Zaphirians themselves? Their technology is interesting, Admiral. Biological systems, living crystal structures, but their military capabilities are basically zero. They come from what they call garden worlds. Low gravity, stable weather, minimal predators, Chen nodded. Another species that had evolved in paradise and never learned to fight. What about their allies? Any of the major galactic powers responding to help them? Negative, Admiral. According to intercepted communications, everyone declined to assist. The Altarian Confederacy, Nexus Collective, Void Reach Merchants all said the risk was too great. Their loss, Chen said. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We are about to engage a hostile force that has been systematically exterminating a peaceful species. Standard rules of engagement apply. Protect the innocents, eliminate the threat, and remember that we're representing Earth out here. Make humanity proud. Acknowledgements came back from the 43 ships under her command. They were not the largest fleet Earth had ever assembled, but they were experienced. Most of the crews had served in the Outer Colony Wars or the Corporate Rebellion. They knew how to fight. Admiral, we're being hailed by the Krex fleet, Torres reported. Of course we are. Put them through. The voice that emerged from the speakers was harsh and guttural, with undertones that suggested the speaker enjoyed causing pain. Unknown vessels, you are interfering in a lawful extermination action. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Chen looked around her bridge. Her crew waited for her response, faces calm and professional. She had served with most of them for years, through battles that would have given the Zaphirians nightmares. Tell them we decline their generous offer, she said. Torres grinned as she opened the channel. Krex fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We are here to provide assistance to the Zaphirian Republic. Your extermination action is terminated. Withdraw from this system immediately. The Krex response was immediate and predictable. You dare challenge the Krex hegemony? Your primitive ships will be vapor in minutes. We will add your species to the extermination list. Torres, cut the channel, Chen ordered. She turned to her tactical officer. Johnson, paint targets for the fleet. Priority goes to anything threatening civilian populations. After that, work your way up the food chain. Yes, Admiral. Target data is being distributed to all ships. Chen watched as her fleet spread into attack formation. The human ships moved with practiced precision, each crew knowing their role without need for complex coordination. It was the result of generations of human warfare, refined through conflicts that had raged across Earth's solar system and beyond. Ma'am, we're receiving another transmission from the Zaphirians, Torres said. They sound confused. About what? They're asking about our technology. Apparently our ships don't match any known design principles. They want to know how we achieved faster-than-light travel with what they call primitive fusion systems. Chen raised an eyebrow. Primitive? Our drives are based on the best human engineering. I think that's the problem, Admiral. According to their databases, no known species has achieved spaceflight from what they classify as a Class 12 death world. A what now? Commander Rodriguez checked his datapad. According to the information they sent us, worlds are classified by habitability. Class 1 worlds are paradise planets with perfect conditions. Class 12 worlds are barely habitable, with extreme conditions that would require environmental suits for most species. Chen stared at him. They think Earth is barely habitable? Apparently so, Admiral. They're also confused about our ship construction. Most galactic vessels are built for comfort and efficiency. Ours are built for survival in hostile environments. Because that's what space is, Chen said. A hostile environment trying to kill you. Most species apparently don't see it that way, Admiral. Chen shook her head. The galaxy was full of species that had evolved in safe little bubbles, never learning that the universe was inherently dangerous. No wonder they could not handle the Krex. Admiral, Krex forces are moving to intercept, Johnson reported. They're maintaining standard formation and approaching at maximum weapon range. Of course they are. They want to sit back and shoot at us from a safe distance. Chen smiled. Johnson, signal the fleet, close to knife-fighting range. Let's show them how Earth's children really fight. The human fleet accelerated toward the Krex formation, closing distance rapidly. Chen could imagine the confusion on the alien ships as the humans abandoned long-range tactical advantage in favor of close combat. Admiral, the Zaphirians are requesting clarification, Torres said. They want to know why we're closing distance instead of maintaining optimal firing range. Tell them it's because optimal firing range is close enough to see the fear in your enemy's eyes. Chen replied. Ma'am, I don't think that's going to translate well. Then tell them we prefer to fight up close where we can be sure of our targets. As the fleets closed distance, Chen found herself thinking about Earth. Home was a world of extremes that had forged humanity in fires of ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators that hunted in packs, and weather systems that could kill without warning. Every human carried the genetic memory of ancestors who had survived when survival should have been impossible. First, Krex ships are in range and opening fire, Johnson reported. Return fire. All ships engage at will. The battle began with streams of plasma fire crossing space between the fleets. The Krex ships were powerful, just as the Zaphirians had warned. But Chen noticed something immediately. They fought like they expected their enemies to break and run at the first sign of serious damage. Admiral, the Krex are targeting our lead ships with concentrated fire, Rodriguez observed. Standard intimidation tactics. Which work great against species that have something to lose, Chen replied. Johnson, signal Captain Morrison on the Indomitable. Tell him his ship has the honor of first contact. The Indomitable was taking heavy fire from 3 Krex cruisers, its armor ablating under the plasma bombardment. Instead of withdrawing, the ship accelerated straight toward the enemy formation. Admiral, the Zaphirians are asking if we need assistance, Torres said. They're confused about our tactics. Chen watched as the Indomitable smashed into the lead Krex cruiser, both ships exploding in a ball of fire and debris. Tell them we're doing fine. This is how humans say hello. War leader Krexmore watched the tactical display with growing confusion. The human ships should have been retreating by now. Any sane species would have withdrawn after losing their lead vessel in such a spectacular explosion. Instead, the remaining human ships had accelerated toward his fleet, closing distance with what could only be described as suicidal determination. War leader, the humans are not responding to our intimidation protocols, reported his tactical officer, voice carrying the clicking sounds that indicated stress among the Krex. They appear to be increasing their aggressive posture. Impossible, Krexmore growled. His species had conquered 17 different civilizations, and they all followed the same pattern. Show them overwhelming force, destroy a few ships to demonstrate superior firepower, and watch them break formation and flee. These humans should be begging for mercy by now. War leader, human boarding pods are approaching the destroyer Fang's end, came another report. Boarding pods? Krexmore's voice rose to a roar. In the middle of active combat? That is tactically insane. On his screen, he watched small craft detach from damaged human ships and race toward his vessels. The pods were crude, little more than armored shells with engines and life support. Most were taking heavy fire from point defense systems, but they kept coming. War leader, the humans aboard Fang's End have breached the hull. They are fighting in sections that have lost atmosphere. Krexmore stared at his aide. Repeat that report. The human boarding party is operating in vacuum, War leader. They appear to be wearing only basic environment suits and are engaging our forces in areas where hull breaches have vented all atmosphere. That should be impossible. No known species can fight effectively in vacuum conditions. Nevertheless, War leader, they are advancing through Deck 7. Our forces are retreating to pressurized sections. Krexmore's massive form shifted in his command chair. The Krex were large, heavily armored beings who had evolved as apex predators on a world where strength determined survival. They were not accustomed to prey that fought back, much less prey that seemed to thrive in conditions that would kill most life forms. What is the status of their fleet? 17 human ships destroyed, War leader, but they continue to close distance. Their remaining vessels are concentrating fire on our heavy cruisers. 17 ships destroyed, and they have not retreated. Krexmore's voice carried disbelief. What manner of species continues to fight after such losses? His answer came as another human ship, its hull breached in a dozen places and atmosphere streaming from the wounds, rammed directly into the heavy cruiser Bone Striker. The explosion lit up space, taking both ships with it. War leader, we are receiving a transmission from the human admiral. Put it through. The voice that emerged from the speakers was calm, almost conversational, despite the fact that her fleet was being systematically destroyed. War leader Krexmore, this is Admiral Chen. I wanted to let you know that you're fighting this all wrong. Krexmore found his voice. Explain yourself, human. You're trying to intimidate us into retreating. That might work with species that evolved on safe little garden worlds, but we're from Earth. We don't retreat, we don't surrender, and we definitely don't get scared by bullies with big ships. Your fleet is being destroyed. Yes, and we're taking yours with us. Do the math, war leader. You started with 200 ships. We started with 43. At current exchange rates, who runs out of ships first? Krex more quickly consulted his tactical display. The humans were correct. Despite their smaller numbers, they were inflicting disproportionate damage through tactics that no sane military force would employ. Ramming attacks, boarding actions in hard vacuum, and close-range combat that ignored all conventional wisdom. What do you want? He finally asked. Simple. Withdraw from this system and leave the Zaphirians alone. This is their space now. The Krex hegemony does not negotiate with prey species. War leader, his tactical officer interrupted. We have a problem. The human ship Relentless has lost all main power and is drifting, but they are still launching fighters. How is that possible? Unknown, war leader. The ship appears to be dead in space, but small craft continue to emerge from its fighter bays. Krexmore watched in growing horror as the supposedly destroyed human ship continued to disgorge fighters and bombers. The small craft moved with erratic patterns that suggested their pilots were operating on backup life support, but they pressed their attacks with unwavering determination. War leader, human Marines have taken control of the Fang's end engine room. They are demanding our surrender. A handful of boarding troops are demanding that we surrender an entire destroyer? Affirmative, war leader. They also sent a message. What message? They said to tell you that their ship's doctor gives them 6 hours of air remaining. So if we want to negotiate, we should do it quickly. Krexmore stared at the communication screen. They boarded our ship knowing they only had 6 hours of life support? It appears so, war leader. For the first time in his military career, Krexmore felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. The humans fought like no species he had ever encountered. They treated certain death as a minor tactical consideration. They operated in environments that should have killed them instantly. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to grow more dangerous as their situation became more desperate. War leader, we have lost contact with 7 destroyers and 3 heavy cruisers, his aide reported. Human forces are operating inside our ships across the fleet. How many humans? Best estimate is 40 to 50 boarding parties, war leader. Small numbers, but they are causing chaos throughout our formations. Krexmore watched as another human ship, this one missing its entire forward section, continued to fire its remaining weapons while drifting sideways through space. The crew should have been dead, but somehow they kept fighting. War leader, the humans are transmitting something new. What now? It appears to be music, war leader. Music? In the middle of a battle? Yes, war leader. The translation system identifies it as something called Ride of the Valkyries. The human admiral says it seemed appropriate. Krexmore listened to the strange, haunting melody that filled his command center. There was something about the music that made his scales crawl with primitive fear. It sounded like the battle songs of ghosts, the music of beings who had already died but refused to stop fighting. War leader, incoming transmission from Admiral Chen. Chen's voice filled the bridge again, still impossibly calm. War leader, I have a proposition for you. Call off your attack on the Zaphirians. Withdraw from this system and we'll let your remaining ships leave. Continue this fight and I guarantee that none of your vessels will return home. Your choice. You cannot be serious. Your fleet is nearly destroyed. War leader, let me tell you something about humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, predators, diseases, natural disasters that could wipe out entire civilizations. We survived it all. We learned to fight against impossible odds because that's what Earth demanded from us. Krexmore found himself leaning forward, listening despite himself. Every human on every one of these ships carries the genetic memory of ancestors who looked death in the face and said, "Not today." We don't know how to give up because giving up means extinction. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you really want to find out what happens when you threaten a species that evolved on a death world? Krexmore looked at his tactical display. He still had numerical superiority, but his formations were in chaos. Human boarding parties controlled key systems on dozens of his ships. His crews were reporting that the humans seemed immune to conditions that should have incapacitated them immediately. For the first time in Krex military history, War leader Krexmore gave an order that no Krex had ever given before. All ships withdraw to minimum safe distance. Cease all offensive operations. War leader, his aide asked in shock. You heard me. These humans, they are not like other species. They do not fight to win. They fight to ensure their enemies lose regardless of the cost to themselves. As his fleet pulled back, Krex stared at the human ships. Most were heavily damaged, some were barely functional, but they maintained formation and continued to broadcast that haunting music. He was beginning to understand that the galaxy had just encountered something unprecedented, a species that had learned to thrive in hell itself. Ambassador Thisara of the Altarian Confederacy stared at the data streaming across her screens with growing disbelief. The initial reports had been dismissed as Zaphirian propaganda, desperate lies told by a dying species. But the sensor logs from neutral observation posts throughout the sector confirmed the impossible. The Krex hegemony was retreating. Analysis confirms the data. Ambassador, reported her aide, a young diplomat whose bioluminescent patches flickered with excitement. The Krex fleet has withdrawn to the outer edge of the Zaphirian system and is maintaining a defensive posture. And the humans? Their remaining ships have taken up positions around the inhabited worlds. They appear to be establishing a blockade. Thisara's serpentine form coiled in her chair as she processed the information. The Altarian Confederacy had evolved on a world of gentle seas and warm currents, where the greatest challenge was navigating complex social hierarchies. Like most galactic civilizations, they had developed technology through careful cooperation and gradual advancement. How many human ships remain operational? 11, Ambassador, down from 43 at the start of the engagement. 11 ships defeated a Krex battle fleet of nearly 200 vessels? The tactical analysis is unusual, Ambassador. The humans employed strategies that no civilized species would consider. Ramming attacks, boarding actions in vacuum, and combat operations that continued even after their ships sustained damage that should have killed all life. Aboard. Thisara accessed the tactical recordings that had been transmitted across the galactic communication network. What she saw challenged everything she thought she knew about space combat and civilized behavior. Send a priority message to the Confederacy Council, she ordered. We need to reevaluate our understanding of habitability parameters and viable civilizations. 3 star systems away, Hive Queen ZX Teeth of the Nexus Collective was reaching similar conclusions. Her species thought with a shared consciousness that allowed for perfect coordination and logical decision-making. The human tactics made no sense to her collective mind. Unit Analysis Combat Reports Paradox. She spoke to her assembled drone minds. Human forces sustained casualties of 74%, yet maintained combat effectiveness. This contradicts all known military doctrine. Unit Biology Xenological has completed analysis of human physiology. Another voice reported through the collective consciousness. Humans originate from classification Deathworld Severe. Atmospheric composition includes toxic oxygen in dangerous concentrations. Gravitational field strength exceeds safe parameters for extended habitation. Predator species outnumber prey species in ecosystem. Clarification, toxic oxygen. Affirmative, Hive Queen. Human metabolism requires exposure to highly reactive gas that would cause cellular damage to most known species. They have evolved tolerance to what amounts to controlled poisoning. Zextith's drone minds process this information with growing alarm. Unit Military Strategic recalculate threat assessment for Deathworld species. Processing. Hive Queen. Recommendation. Immediate diplomatic contact with human government. Species capable of sustained combat in conditions lethal to most life forms. Represents potential asset or existential threat. In the merchant halls of the Void Reach, Prince Trader Convel was having very different thoughts about the humans. His species had built their civilization on trade and profit, always calculating the economic advantage of every situation. Pull up the mineral surveys of this Earth system, he ordered his data analysts. Prince Trader, there are no surveys. The system was classified as uninhabitable due to extreme conditions. Extreme how? Severe tectonic activity, unpredictable weather systems, aggressive biological competition, and electromagnetic phenomena that would interfere with most technology. Convel's multifaceted eyes gleamed with possibility. And humans evolved there naturally? Apparently so, Prince Trader. Do you realize what this means? They have developed technology that functions in conditions that would destroy our equipment. Their biological adaptations alone could revolutionize medicine, environmental systems, and industrial applications. The humans have not responded to any trade inquiries, Prince Trader. They appear focused on military assistance to the Zaphirians. Then we approach this differently. Set up a meeting with this Admiral Chen. I want to know what it would take to establish trade relations with Earth. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place in the halls of power. The sudden appearance of humanity had sent shockwaves through established political structures. A species from an unmapped system had accomplished what the major galactic powers considered impossible. Dr. Velnara, the Confederacy's leading xenobiologist, was deep in her laboratory trying to understand the biological impossibility of human physiology. Her research team had been working around the clock since the first reports arrived. The muscle density alone should prevent them from achieving spaceflight, she muttered, reviewing the data for the 100th time. Their bone structure is designed for high-gravity environments. Their cardiovascular system operates at pressures that would rupture most circulatory systems. Dr. Velnara, we've received the complete environmental data from Earth, her assistant announced. Velnara accessed the files and immediately wished she had not. This cannot be correct. Seasonal temperature variations of over 100 degrees, regular seismic activity that reshapes entire continents, storm systems that generate electromagnetic effects visible from orbit. The data has been verified, Doctor. Earth experiences what humans call ice ages, where global temperatures drop enough to freeze most of the planet's surface water. They occur roughly every 100,000 years. And humans survived multiple ice ages? According to their historical records, they not only survived but spread across the entire planet during these events. Velnara felt a chill run through her scaled form. What kind of evolutionary pressure creates a species that thrives during global catastrophes? Her assistant pulled up additional files. Doctor, there's more. Humans share their planet with what they call apex predators, large carnivorous species that actively hunt humans for food. And they coexist with these predators? Not exactly, Doctor. They eliminated most of the dangerous species through coordinated hunting campaigns. They seem to view other apex predators as competition rather than insurmountable threats. Velnara sat back in her chair, trying to process the implications. Send a recommendation to the Confederacy Council. We need to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth immediately. A species that considers apex predators to be competition is not something we want as an enemy. Meanwhile, in the Zaphirian system, Admiral Chen was dealing with a flood of communication requests from across the galaxy. Every major power suddenly wanted to talk to the unknown humans who had achieved the impossible. Admiral, we're receiving diplomatic inquiries from 17 different governments, reported Lieutenant Torres. They all want to establish formal relations with Earth. Funny how popular we became after we proved we could fight, Chen observed. What's the status of the Krex? Still maintaining position at the edge of the system, Admiral. No hostile movements, but they haven't withdrawn either. Chen nodded. The Krex were probably trying to figure out what had hit them. According to the intelligence briefings, they had built their empire on intimidation and overwhelming force. They had never encountered a species that refused to be intimidated. Admiral, priority message from Earth Command, her communications officer announced. Chen accepted the encrypted transmission. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on her screen, looking tired but pleased. Sarah, congratulations on your victory. The reports are still coming in, but it looks like you've started something significant out there. Just following orders, Admiral. Protect human interests and render aid to friendly species. Well, you've certainly done that. We're getting diplomatic requests from species we've never heard of. Apparently, word has spread that humans are not to be underestimated. Chen smiled grimly. The galaxy seems to run on reputation, Admiral. Now they know what ours is. There's more, Sarah. Our deep space monitoring stations are picking up increased activity along several front lines. It seems the Krex retreat has inspired some previously conquered species to reconsider their situations. Rebellions? Too early to tell, but yes. The galaxy just learned that the Krex can be beaten. Other species under their control are taking notice. Chen looked out at the stars, thinking about the implications. Humanity had answered a distress call and ended up changing the balance of power in their part of the galaxy. Orders, Admiral. Hold position, maintain the blockade, and prepare for visitors. Earth has just become very interesting to a lot of powerful people. We need to be ready for whatever comes next. As the transmission ended, Chen reflected on how quickly things had changed. A week ago, humanity was an unknown species from the galactic fringe. Now they were being courted by major powers and feared by an empire that had seemed unstoppable. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to deal with Deathworlders. 6 months after the Battle of Zephyr, the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. The once mighty Krex hegemony had withdrawn from 3 star systems, their forces demoralized and their expansion plans indefinitely postponed. For the first time in their history, the Krex had encountered a species they could not intimidate, could not break, and could not defeat through conventional warfare. Counselor Veltar stood in the newly constructed meeting chamber aboard the human base ship Endeavor, watching as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the first Galactic Cooperation Summit. The irony was not lost on her that the meeting was being held in a human vessel, built with the practical efficiency that had become humanity's trademark. The atmospheric mixture is suitable for all attending species, Admiral Chen announced as she entered the chamber. The human commander had become something of a legend in the past months, her name spoken with equal parts respect and wariness throughout known space. Admiral Chen, Veltar greeted her with the graceful bow that the Zaphirians used for honored guests. Thank you for hosting this gathering. Thank you for suggesting it, Counselor. Earth is still learning about galactic politics, but we understand the value of good neighbors. Around them, the chamber filled with beings from dozens of different worlds. Ambassador Thisara of the Altarian Confederacy coiled herself around a specially designed seat, her serpentine form gleaming under the chamber's lights. Hive Queen Zarith attended through a collection of drone minds that spoke with her collective voice. Prince Trader. Conval examined everything with the calculating gaze of someone looking for profit opportunities. Notably absent were any representatives of the Krex hegemony. Before we begin formal proceedings, Chen announced, I want to address something that's been bothering me. For months we've been receiving questions about Earth, about humans, about how we do things differently. I think it's time we had an honest conversation about what makes us tick. She activated a holographic display that showed a rotating image of Earth. The assembled delegates leaned forward with interest. Most had seen the basic data, but few had seen actual images of the human homeworld. This is Earth, Chen said simply. Population 8 billion humans plus about 15 billion other intelligent species that we share the planet with. 15 billion other intelligent species? Thisara asked, her voice carrying surprise. Dogs, cats, dolphins, whales, elephants, great apes, and several others. Intelligence takes many forms on Earth. We learned early that survival meant cooperation, not just domination. The display shifted to show time-lapse footage of Earth's changing seasons. The massive storms that swept across continents, the tectonic activity that constantly reshaped the landscape. Our world is dynamic, Chen continued. It's beautiful, but it's also trying to kill us pretty much constantly. Ice ages every 100,000 years, volcanic eruptions that can change global weather patterns, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts, and more biological diversity than most species encounter in their entire galactic expansion. Dr. Velnara, who had been studying human biology for months, spoke up. Admiral, your presentation confirms our analysis. Earth should not be able to support complex civilization. The environmental pressures are too extreme. And yet here we are, Chen replied with a smile. Which brings me to my point. The galaxy seems to run on the assumption that intelligent life requires stable, peaceful conditions to develop. Earth taught us something different. The display changed to show human settlements in various extreme environments. Underwater cities, orbital habitats, colonies built into the sides of active volcanoes. We learned to adapt because we had to. Every generation faced challenges that could have wiped us out. We developed technology that works in hostile environments because hostile environments are all we've ever known. Prince Trader Convel leaned forward. Admiral, the commercial applications of such technology would be extraordinary. Environments that we consider uninhabitable could become profitable mining or research sites. Which is why we're here, Chen said. Earth is interested in trade and cooperation, in being part of the galactic community. But we're also here to offer something that nobody else seems to provide. Solutions for impossible problems. Hive Queen Z Extith spoke through her drone minds. Clarification requested. What assistance can humans provide to establish civilizations? Chen smiled, and Veltar noticed that several delegates shifted uncomfortably. The human smile was an expression that many species found unsettling, showing teeth in what appeared to be a predatory display. "Let me give you an example," Chen said. 3 months ago, the Nexus Collective contacted us about a mining operation in the Proxima sector. The mineral deposits were incredibly valuable, but they were located on a world with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead and atmospheric pressure that would crush most equipment. "The scorched worlds," Zextooth confirmed. "Unit Engineering Geological declared them economically unfeasible." "Economically unfeasible for everyone except humans," Chen corrected. "We sent a team of 50 engineers and miners. They've been operating there for 2 months and have already extracted enough rare elements to pay for the entire operation twice over." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Worlds that were worthless to the galaxy's established civilizations could be profitable for humans. "The point is," Chen continued, "the galaxy has been thinking about habitability and survival in very limited terms. You've all evolved on worlds that were kind to you, that supported your development without challenging you. Earth taught us that survival isn't about finding perfect conditions. It's about adapting to whatever conditions you find." Ambassador Thaisara spoke carefully. "Admiral, are you suggesting that humanity could assist with difficult situations?" "I'm suggesting that humanity specializes in difficult situations." Veltar watched the interplay between the various delegates with fascination. The Zaphirians had learned to read human expressions and body language over the past months, and she could see that Admiral Chen was enjoying this conversation far more than her calm demeanor suggested. "There's something else," Chen said. "The Krex Empire built their power on the assumption that overwhelming force would make any opponent surrender. It worked because most species are rational. They calculate odds, consider costs, and make logical decisions about when to fight and when to retreat. Logical decision-making is the foundation of civilization," Thaisara observed. "Maybe. But humans learned a different lesson. Sometimes the logical choice is to accept extinction rather than surrender. Sometimes the only way to survive is to be willing to die fighting. The Krex never encountered that philosophy before." Chen paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "The galaxy is going to change, whether we're part of it or not. The old balance of power was based on species that think alike, that share similar values about preservation and rational calculation. Now there's a new variable in the equation." Prince Trader Convel spoke up. "Admiral, what does Earth want from the galactic community?" "Trade, knowledge, cooperation, and friendship," Chen replied immediately. "We're not conquerors. We're explorers and problem solvers. We want to learn from you, and we want to help where we can." "And if civilizations choose not to cooperate?" Thaisara asked carefully. Chen's smile became less friendly. "Then they don't. Humanity doesn't force friendship on anyone. But we also don't tolerate bullies or species that prey on the weak." The message was clear to everyone in the room. The Krex had learned what happened when humans encountered bullies. "We have established a permanent base here in Zaphirian space," Chen announced. "Not as occupiers, but as allies. The Zaphirians have offered us technology and knowledge in exchange for protection and assistance. We've accepted." Veltar stepped forward. "The Zaphirian Republic is proud to announce the formation of the Human-Zaphirian Alliance. We offer our biotechnology and cultural resources to our human friends, and they offer their expertise in survival and adaptation." Chen nodded. "This base will serve as Earth's first permanent embassy to the galaxy. We're inviting any civilizations interested in cooperation to establish diplomatic relations." The chamber buzzed with quiet conversations as delegates processed this information. Humanity had just announced their intention to become a permanent part of galactic politics. "One more thing," Chen said, and the room fell silent again. "Earth has been monitoring the situation with various species under Krex occupation. We've received several requests for assistance from worlds seeking independence. The implications were staggering. If humanity began supporting rebellions against the Krex Empire, the balance of power in this part of the galaxy would shift dramatically. Our response to such requests will depend on the circumstances," Chen continued. "But Earth believes that all intelligent species have the right to self-determination." Hive Queen Zextooth spoke through her drones. "Unit strategy political calculates significant probability of cascading resistance movements throughout Krex territory." "That's not our concern," Chen replied. "Our concern is ensuring that peaceful species aren't exterminated by aggressive empires." As the formal meeting concluded, Veltar found herself reflecting on how much had changed.